Mum, what are you doing? I'm practicing my sketching skills. I'm trying to copy you. Ooh. Would you like to see?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Mum, that's awful. Does my nose really look that big? And look at my ears. I'm not Elvis Presley. My hair doesn't look like that. There's no need to be rude. Copying's really hard.
This is a rubbish copy.
We all copy people from time to time, don't we? Not necessarily in a sketchbook like I tried to do with Abby, but in other ways. We might copy a hairstyle, or we might copy an outfit. We might even copy somebody's great idea with their work. And all those ways of copying are fine. But it's not so great when we copy people in the way that I did when I was at school. I wasn't very good at maths, and so I used to copy Andrew Bellfield's maths work because I didn't want to stand out as being somebody who couldn't do maths. And it got me by for a while until the maths test, and then I came a bit unstuck. That's not a good example of copying. Or when somebody's showing the wrong sort of behaviour, and rather than stand out and do the right thing, we just go along with them. That's not so great either.
Let me introduce you to this little creature. It's a very special type of caterpillar called a processionary caterpillar, because once one of them has chosen the way to go, all the others will follow or process in exactly the same direction. There have been hundreds spotted walking in one huge line. The other caterpillars let the front one do all the thinking, all the decision making, and they half shut their eyes and just follow. It's like they're on automatic pilot. A French naturalist called Jean-Honoré Faber became absolutely fascinated by these little creatures, and he conducted lots of experiments, including the one which we are going to perform today in my front room.
So, for my experiment, I'm going to need a volunteer. Abby! Perfect! Come and be my caterpillar volunteer. Now you need to wear a sign, okay? Because you are going to be the lead caterpillar. And just to make you look caterpillar-like. Perfect. We have a lead caterpillar. Now, Mr. Faber, in his experiment, what he did, he took a plant pot, just imagine this is a plant pot, okay, and he enticed the lead caterpillar to the top, to the rim of the plant pot. And so, once the lead caterpillar was at the top of the plant pot, it started to walk round. The caterpillar walked round and round, and soon all the other processionary caterpillars followed the lead caterpillar up the side of the plant pot, and they too started to walk round and round and round. Monsieur Faber watched them walking for hours. They were so close together, you could not see where one caterpillar started and the other ended. They followed so closely for hour after hour after hour. Now eventually the caterpillar started to get a little bit hungry and a little bit tired and walked a little bit more slowly, but they kept walking nevertheless. So at this point Monsieur Faber introduced the next part of his experiment. He got some food and he placed it at the bottom of the plant pot to see just what would happen. I'll just pop it in there, and a little banana and an apple, I'll just pop it in. And he sat and he watched and he waited to see what the caterpillars would do. Well, the lead caterpillar kept walking round and round the rim of the plant pot. And so all the other processionary caterpillars followed closely behind. By this point they were exhausted. They were starving. But not one of them went down to the bottom of the plant pot to get the food because they were following the leader. The leader walked round for one last time and then fell in an exhausted heap off the rim of the plant pot. What a sad experiment. A story where following doesn't do you any good at all, especially if you're a processionary caterpillar. If just one of them had decided to go down to the bottom to the food, they might have survived. Standing out from the crowd and being different takes guts. It's so much easier just to follow everybody else and do what they do. Year sixes, as you prepare for secondary school, are you going to go along with the crowd, or are you going to make your own choices, your own decisions, and based on what you've learnt and what you know to be right, do the right thing?
Daniel and his friends in the Bible found themselves in a similar situation. They had been taken captive, taken from their home in Jerusalem to a new land called Babylon with new rules and new laws as slaves. But because they were handsome, clever and strong, the king of Babylon had spotted them and had asked for them to be brought into his palace to be trained up for service to the king and his household. The king changed their names, he gave them the best education, and even gave them his own food, the very best. But Daniel and his friends knew that it was not right for them to eat this food. It looked amazing, but it was made from something that in their laws God had said not to eat. What should they do? Should they eat it and keep quiet so they didn't stand out? Or should they do what they knew was right and not eat it, politely telling the king why? What would you have done? Well, Daniel and his friends said no thank you to the servant and told him to ask the king if they could eat vegetables and drink water while everybody else had the king's food. And after 10 days, the king could see how they were. After 10 days, Daniel and his 3 friends were healthier and stronger than everybody else who was eating the king's food. God was with Daniel and his friends, and because they didn't forget what they had learned and did the right thing, they went on to become important members of the king's court.
There will be times in our lives when we have to choose between doing what everybody else is doing or doing what we know is the right thing to do. And it's hard, especially when it looks tempting, like the food in the Daniel story, and he knew it was right to eat vegetables. Even Jesus was tempted to do the wrong thing. But just as God helped Daniel and his friends to do the right thing, so God too can help us to be brave, to stand up and stand out, and to do the right thing if we ask him. And the consequences are always better when we do. Dear God, help us not to blindly follow the example of others, especially when they're doing the wrong thing, but give us the courage to do the right thing and behave in a way that will please you. We particularly pray for our Year 6s as they move on to their new schools. Thank you that you will be with them and help them to remember that you are only ever a prayer away.